What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I promised you guys an updated winter forecast, and here it is. I know it says snowfall forecast, and that's because we're going to be focusing a little bit more on who I think could see above average or below average snowfall for the 2025-2026 winter. All right, let's jump right into it, and don't mind me being right in front of, where is it, Florida, because, well, let's be honest, I don't really expect Florida to see much snowfall this winter. They did see a little bit last winter. Doesn't really happen much though. So here we go. What is this first outline region? This is where I expect it to be more dry and mild. I will say this though. This area in particular is a little bit of a question mark for me, because with La Niñas, you can get a nice flow of storms off the coast and you can see above average snowfall and have some decent troughing as well. So I'm not super confident in that region. I will say I'm much more confident in the dry and mild, I would say below average precipitation and slightly above average temperatures for this winter down here in the southeast. It gets a little more 50-50 as you get out towards the west coast. So if you live out towards the west coast and you want a cold, snowy winter, you still could see one. This region's a lot harder to forecast. I don't have as much confidence in it, but this is what I'm going with. You know, obviously I've looked at a lot of analogs. I've looked at a lot of data. This is what I'm leaning towards for the West Coast. And here we go. Now we're stretching from portions of Mississippi to central to southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana. You got a little bit of Texas, Oklahoma in here, the southern Rockies, and then up through southern Idaho, eastern Oregon, and Nevada. What do I think we could see snowfall-wise in this region this winter? Well, I actually think we could see average snowfall. Although if you were to ask me about the temperatures in this region, I think they might be average to slightly above average. The area I'm not as confident in this region would just be the Rockies in general. Weak La Niñas tend to bring below average temperatures for much of the states through the winter months, December, January, and February. So it wouldn't surprise me if we actually saw average snow and then slightly below average temperatures out here. But right now, again, I'm leaning towards average snowfall and slightly above average temperatures. Now, I'm guessing some of you can guess what this zone is. And I'll give you a hint. This zone can be very frustrating during winter. This is our winter battleground zone, or you could say this is our ice zone. With the weak La Niña jet stream that typically wants to push in from the northwest, down through the central Rockies, central plains, and then up through New England, this region in particular can be in the battle between cold rain, snow, and ice constantly during winter. If you're on the north side of the jet stream when we have a storm coming through, you'll get snow. If you're on the south side, you'll get rain. If you're somewhere in the middle, again, that's where we can get these big ice storms. So western North Carolina, Tennessee, northern Arkansas, central to southern Missouri, eastern Kansas, central to western Nebraska, and then portions of Wyoming. Again, I think this could really be a winter battleground zone. Even though I labeled this as our winter battleground zone, I actually expect this region to see below average temperatures through the winter months, like I said, December, January, and February. Some of you are probably wondering what this is. Well, I think we could see a lot of clippers through this region. This region in particular, I think we could see a lot of snowstorms, just maybe not a lot of major snowstorms. So a lot of really snow showers. But with the frequency of snow I think we could see here, I have it labeled as above average snow. I do think this region will be colder than average this winter, and above average precipitation is definitely possible, especially through this area in the Ohio Valley and right up here in the Northwest. We're talking western Montana, northern Idaho, and then central to eastern Washington. Here's where things get interesting. And I say that because when I do live streams and even in my comments, I have people asking about this region in particular for winter way more than all the other regions. And it's pretty easy to understand, actually. You have a big population out here, right? We have Baltimore, DC, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston. There's just a lot of people here. And also this region has actually seen below average winters for something like 4 or 5 years now, maybe even more in some regions. They've really been in a snow drought. Well, I think that drought will actually change this year. Nor'easters. Yep, I put it there. I think the almighty nor'easter returns this year, and maybe not just once, maybe twice. We've got some cold SST anomalies in the subpolar North Atlantic that people haven't really been talking about much. Well, the temperature gradient that can form between the North American landmass and the subpolar North Atlantic Sea can actually push us into and hold us into a negative NAO pattern. When you have a negative NAO pattern, cold air doesn't just slide down into the east and move right out. It actually gets trapped in the south. And the longer that below average air is trapped in the south and out east, the more opportunities you have for a storm system or moisture to move off the Gulf and allow for a low pressure system to run up the East Coast. I think we could see an extended negative NAO this winter. The MJO cycle actually looks promising for December, so maybe even we get an early nor'easter out here. I don't expect you guys to actually see a lot of snowstorms up and down this region. I expect you to see 1 or 2 good snowstorms, which is why I think a lot of people out in this region will see above average snow, even though it might not snow that frequently this winter. I will also say I'm the most afraid of these people out in the mid-Atlantic and coastal New England, because if we don't get a nor'easter or two this winter, they will be pretty upset with me, and they'll remind me as we get into this spring, because most people out here have been waiting for the return of a big snowstorm or an above average winter. Moving on, the dark blue up through portions of Michigan, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, and then up there through inner New England. What is this? Well, I think this area could actually see frequent snowstorms, including frequent and amplified lake effect snow. I do expect much of the Northeast, and I'll say including this nor'easter region I have, to see average to slightly below average temperatures this winter. Because of the way I expect our polar jet to lock in, I do think we could see a train of snowstorms up through this region. And by the way, with the colder than average temperatures expected through this region, that does give you more chances for that lake effect snow. The lake effect snow up here is caused by very cold air moving over the warmer waters of the Great Lakes. The steeper temperature gradient between that air and that water will typically the more frequent snow you'll see and the heavier snow you'll see. Last but not least, and I don't think many people will be surprised, it's gonna be cold up here. We've got the almighty polar vortex. Weak La Nina, potentially a really large Alaskan ridge pushing up somewhere in December or January, a warm WPO that could help to amplify that Alaskan ridge, really messing with our stratospheric polar vortex. I think we could have some major collapses of cold air in this region this winter, which is why it's very hard to predict snow here, because sometimes if it's too cold up here, specifically the Dakotas, Minnesota, and northern Wisconsin, you get what's called a cold core high, and that actually can put you into a snow drought. Although I do think those warmer waters in the northern Pacific will give us an enhanced storm track up here. So I think we're going to see frequent clippers or Alberta clippers through this region. So I'm expecting slightly above average snowfall up here. If you look at the 2000-2001 winter analog, which is a great analog for this year, Minneapolis actually received that year, I believe, 65 to 68 inches of snow. So 10 to 20 inches above average. And I think we could see something like that out in Milwaukee and Minneapolis. And lastly, you guys might want to read this. Many people are starting to compare this winter to the 2000-2001 winter because our atmospheric profile right now is very similar to how it was entering the 2000-2001 winter. So by taking a look at what happened in that winter, we may understand what could happen in this winter. And check this out. The 2000-2001 winter was colder than normal for the United States as a whole, marked by a very cold start in November and December. This is something I've been saying. I think it's going to be a cold and snowy winter up front. I do think a lot of areas, especially out east, could see snow on the ground earlier than they normally do. Now in 2000-2001, they saw significant snow in the Midwest and Northeast, although there were regional variations, with some areas like the Pacific Northwest being unusually dry. I kind of have the Pacific Northwest, at least along the coast, drier, while California was colder and wetter than normal, and parts of the Rockies received consistent snowfall. Nationally, the season was the 26th coldest on record. You may say 26, that's not a lot, but we're talking about over 100 winters. So this was definitely one of the colder winters, with much of the country experiencing below average temperatures. November and December of 2000 were the coldest such months on record for the US, with December being the 7th coldest on record. Several locations experienced significant snowfall, including record-setting events in Buffalo, New York, Syracuse, New York, as well as a 24-hour record in Chicago. If you look up how much snow Chicago got in the 2000 to 2001 winter, it's going to tell you something like 35 or 36. And you could argue, well, that's what NOAA's saying, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We have to trust them. Well, NOAA's counting astronomical winter, so the end of December through February. But Chicago saw big snow before technical winter started, and NOAA's not counting that. Guess what? If you get 2 to 3 feet of snow in the beginning of winter, I'm counting that towards your winter snow total. And I think NOAA should as well. Buffalo and Syracuse both exceeded 100 inches by early January. That's kind of crazy. Anyways, I thought this was interesting. 2000-2001, which is a really good analog for this year, was a colder than average winter for most and a snowier than average winter for most. Alrighty, I appreciate you guys watching this video. Let me know in the comments down below, do you agree with this? Do you disagree with this? And how upset with me will you be if I get your region wrong? Listen, I'm doing the best with the information I have. If you could leave a like, comment, or subscribe, it really, really helps the algorithm. And if you do subscribe, you'll be notified every single time I post a video. I post videos every single day, and I live stream every single day to try to answer all of your weather forecasting or outlook questions. So again, thanks for stopping by this video, and I'll see you in the next video or the next live.